The Samyang 24mm f2.8 for Sony full frame cameras. This is by no means the best lens that you can get out there, it's definitely not. But given the price of this lens, I definitely think it's worth picking up. During this video, I will be putting up some of my images that I've taken with this lens, especially when it's relevant to what I'm talking about. I'm going to be talking about the things that I really like about it, but also some of the things that I don't, and hopefully it'll inform you guys as to whether or not it's worth picking up. So the first thing that I really love about this lens is just how lightweight and tiny it is. I mean, you can see just from me holding it how small it is, and it only weighs 93 grams, so you're not even going to remember if you put this in your kit bag, it's that light. It's such a tiny little lens, and for someone like me who likes to go on hikes and likes to travel with their camera, this is a perfect addition to the kit bag for that reason. The lens also has a really smooth focus ring if you're someone that's interested in getting this lens for video. This video though is more focused on the photography side of this lens, but I may do another video in the future talking about how this can be used as a video lens. The lens is an f2.8. Now I've used this lens a lot for night photography, but in general I really love the fact that it's also got that 24cm minimum focus distance. So you can focus in really close to stuff, and with that f2.8 you can really separate things from the background. And because it's a wide angle, you get a really interesting perspective on things, something that you don't get on many other lenses. Another thing that I think is pretty great about this lens is the overall sharpness. So I've seen some reviews saying that it's quite soft around the edges, but in general I've got some really great images from this, and I'll throw some up now so you can see and you can look at the corners. Personally, I think the images from this, for the price, are really brilliant. The lens also comes with a little carry case, and it's also a hard shell case as well, not just a little pouch like you get with some lenses, so if you're taking this out and about, you don't have to worry about damaging it, especially with that plasticky design. One thing that seems to plague a lot of lenses is chromatic aberration, and to be honest I've not really noticed a lot on this. I can take a lot of pictures of things like trees, and that's usually where it's most noticeable, and I've never really had major issues with this, and especially nothing that Lightroom just can't correct really quite quickly. Now with wide angle lenses you tend to get distortion, especially at the edges if you're taking a picture of something like a building, but with this I don't really see that much. Now I'm filming right now on Sony's FE28mm f2. The distortion on that lens is something I can't even cover in this video without making it a whole separate section. So in the future I'm probably going to do a video about that. Comparatively, this lens is like there's no distortion at all compared to the 28mm. I've shot a bunch of stuff with this lens, and honestly it looks fantastic. Obviously you will get some distortion, especially with the focal length in general, but nothing like the 28mm. And in fact, I don't know if it's the way that Samyang has designed this lens or if it's some in-camera magic, but in general distortion on this is very, very minimal. So hopefully some of those images that I've been throwing up on the screen while I've been talking about the things I like about this lens have been useful, but let's now talk about some of the things that aren't so good about this lens. So firstly, this lens has pretty bad flaring. Now oddly, if you shoot directly at the sun it seems to be fine, and I'll throw up some images and you can see what I mean. Looks pretty good, but if you kind of angle the lens off from the sun, you get this really weird refraction where you start to see the color spectrum bleeding through into the image, and to be honest I'm not really a fan of that. It could look quite good depending on what you're trying to achieve, but for me personally I don't want that. That's going to be an issue for a lot of people if you shoot with the sun at a slightly off angle to where the image that you're capturing. I haven't found it a huge problem when I've been out shooting, and I can kind of just adjust the angle and the composition slightly to get rid of it, but there have been occasions where it's come into shot and I've just thought, oh, I wish I had a 24mm without this problem. Another thing that's quite bad about this lens is the vignetting. So vignetting is something that you pretty much should always expect with a wide angle lens. Obviously some lenses are worse than others, and I'd say that this lens is one of those lenses. In most situations the vignetting's pretty bad. You can fix it quite easily with Lightroom, but the thing that I noticed is when you lift those shadows you start to get a bit of noise, which isn't ideal if you're taking, breathtaking landscapes and you've got your corners all a bit noisy. But in general, it's performed pretty well, and I don't think the vignetting for me is that much of an issue, especially when you consider the price. If I was paying over £1,000 for this, like the G Master lens, yeah, I'd be pretty annoyed with that vignetting, but for under £200, nah, I don't really care. Now the biggest sort of negative about this lens for most people will be the fact that it's got no weather sealing. So the back of this lens, it's all plastic, it's not metal, there's no sort of weather sealed elements to it. So if you're someone that likes to take photos at the beach or in adverse weather conditions, storms, things like that, you probably want to leave this one at home, or you know, take the photos under a shelter or something like that. This lens is not going to withstand all those conditions, and you're probably going to damage the lens and your camera. And I guess that's kind of it for the negatives that I've experienced with this lens. Other than that, this lens has performed fantastically in almost every situation I've thrown at it. The fact that I got this for under £200 used on eBay is brilliant. You know, I don't regret getting it in any way, and I don't think to myself, oh, I wish I had that, you know, that G Master. Maybe one day I'll use that G Master and think that this thing's trash, but you know what? You guys have seen the images that I've been throwing up throughout the video. So before I close off this video, I'll show you guys a few more images that I've taken on this lens, and hopefully you will be able to decide then whether or not this is worth picking up. Now, were some of those negative things that I mentioned enough to put you off buying this lens? Personally, I think it's worth getting. Even if it's just a spares lens that you have in your kit that you can use, for the price, its performance is honestly really good, at least in my eyes. From what I can see in the photos that I've taken, I've been really happy with it. Super sharp lens, generally the image quality really great. I think it's worth picking up and putting in the kit bag just to have in case you need it. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos from me specifically about lenses or the A7 III or, you know, camera stuff in general, feel free to subscribe and make sure you hit that alert button, as it will tell you when I upload something new. And hopefully I will see you guys in the next one.